Hi, welcome to our new LinkedIn Live series, ADHD in the Workplace. I created this space because I recognize that living with ADHD can present challenges in the world of work. And I hope that through this series, we can generate ideas to support adults with ADHD to utilize the strength in the world of work. So I'm your host, Samantha Hiew, a communications consultant and founder of ADHD Girls, a media and education platform born out of a desire to empower girls and women with ADHD. Okay, it's just a little bit of technical snag here. Can you hear an echo? No,
No, I can't.
just me. All right. So for our LinkedIn Live today, I'm joined by Liz Mulhall Brewer, founder of a successful recruitment business who made a career pivot into business psychology. So, and she's currently leading the employee experience and well-being work for Surrey County Council. So she has a keen interest in advocating for inclusive workplaces and would like to incorporate job design for disabilities and mental illness into her practice. And like myself and so many other women, she received an ADHD diagnosis later in life. And in Liz's case, it was when she returned to university to study business psychology. So let us welcome Liz.
Thanks for having me.
And the topic we will cover today is why are we passionate about neurodiversity advocacy? And in your case, you actually created a career, to support people in their well-being and experience upon our ADHD diagnosis. So Liz, I'm curious, as with most of us with ADHD, there is a lot going on in our brain. So I want to know, what is it like in your ADHD brain and the struggle you had in your internal world while appearing seemingly successful and imperturbable on the outside?
Yeah, it's pretty hectic. So I have the combined type. So I would say that my brain is generally working at sort of 1,000 miles an hour. But yeah, at best I sort of describe it like a bit of a spaghetti junction where it's just constant chaos, and I have to try and create calmness and sort of get some structure. But yeah, it's pretty tough. It was funny when I got the diagnosis. It just everything seemed to make sense. So it was a huge moment for me that I'm hugely appreciative of. But it was I don't if, looking back, I don't really know how I did cope. But I think you just find coping strategies and mechanisms just to help you. But I internalized a lot of things. So externally, you probably wouldn't have a clue of what was going on, but internally, it was a whole different story. And sort of behind closed doors, I would struggle quite a lot. I've had poor mental health probably from the age of sort of 12, 13, starting off with panic disorder, which progressed to generalized anxiety. And then I went to the doctors, I think I was about 34, and asked if I could get a bipolar assessment, because the emotional dysregulation and the highs and lows were probably what I found the hardest to deal with. But he said that I wasn't bipolar, didn't refer me on to anything, and put me on medication that actually was probably one of the worst types of medication for ADHD. Because we lack sort of get up and go motivation sometimes, this took away any get up and go I had. So I was actually sort of lying around in bed for 6 months, unable to really get up, because the small amount of get up and go that I had been removed by the antidepressants. And then a friend at uni, her daughter had recently received an ADHD diagnosis, and I was talking to her about my experience with anxiety and just trying to help her out, really. And she said, sounds like you might have ADHD. And I had the classic small boy running around causing havoc in the classroom, that sort of view of what ADHD was. And I was just like, no, it's definitely not me. Did some research into it. And yeah, I just saw loads of similarities, and saw how my mental health has sort of progressively got worse over the years. I've had issues sort of eating disorders, depression, anxiety, so lots of comorbidities, and then booked myself in for a diagnosis. And yeah, he said, psychiatrist, he's like, sorry to let you know, you've had this your whole life. I don't know how you've managed to cope.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and actually, there's a lot of parallels to it, in terms of what you experience and what a lot of women who have been misdiagnosed with depression and anxiety,
Mm.
suggest, and even borderline personality disorder,
Yeah,
and then suddenly realize within all these symptoms, there's an underlying issue for it, and that's our neurodifference, the way that you are built, and by itself, there's really not an issue. But if you try to fit this brain into the neurotypical built world, then we need
absolutely.
motivation, we need ways to help us perform, you know, this, the work that we need to do, what other people do really well in the neurotypical thing. But there are also jobs that are really good for people with ADHD, right?
Mm.
And we do those really well, and even better, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So about your career pivots, because this is really exciting, as you want to be more active in the space of neurodiversity advocacy. So I'm curious about your career change. Do you think that it was your mental health struggles and maybe awareness of how your brain is built and that's different and instrumental in shaping the work that you're currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first modules I did at uni was well-being and work, and it just really resonated with me, knowing how challenging I found work and staying silent. Really, my current job is the only place that I've actually disclosed sort of any mental health challenges, and I think I was just fed up with feeling, well, probably the self stigma that I was putting onto myself.
Mhm.
And I started being really open, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago. And it's just hugely liberating because I feel like I can take off the mask and just be myself now. Um, so yeah, I was really very keen on looking at how to support employee well-being. I didn't know. I completed the module and then went on to get the diagnosis. And then when I started to do some research, um, I guess what I was reading was just didn't really sort of reflect my experience of ADHD. It's very negative. It was never focusing on the strengths that we have, of which there are many. It never focused on sort of the high achievement, and I couldn't find that much on high functioning ADHD, which I think that I have. And it just really, I was really curious about it, and this is how I came across your ADHD Girls. I started reading some books, Joanne Steer, her book, which was just like this world that explained everything to me. And I guess looking back at the younger me who didn't have anyone, and how much I struggled through my younger years, I just wouldn't want any other young girls and women to sort of go through that alone. So just really keen to champion it and just to be very open about my own experiences within the workplace. Just do what I can to sort of spread the word and just show that you can have a successful life, you can have a great career. I think that there's some misconceptions. It's a bit of a death sentence, but my life has only got better since I received my diagnosis. My mental health has improved significantly. Everything has got better since then. So yeah, I love anything to do with sort of understanding people. My 10 years in recruitment, I was very people focused, although it's mainly a sales role. I always cared about the people really deeply. I've got high levels of empathy. I've been told that I care more about the people than the business, which is probably true. So I'm quite suited in a people role. Um, yeah, I love it. I love seeing how you can help people perform and looking at culture across organizations, getting teams performing well, understanding issues, and a lot of things, a lot of the issues that come into our team, they kind of have a well-being edge, but they're sort of cultural. There's quite deeper issues that are going on, and I love sort of delving into that and having really complex problems to solve.
Yeah, Liz, it sounds like you found what you're really good at and then your interests, the things you had experience in, to pivot into something that, you didn't have to really start from scratch because you had all this decades of
Yeah.
experience behind you, and a newfound interest as well in, helping people in the diversity and inclusion space. And what you explained about looking on the internet after your diagnosis and seeing that actually there's a huge deal of stigma around the understanding of ADHD. And I came across a word today, and I think it explains it completely, is that everyone who finds themselves in the psychiatrist's chair, and in this case on the other side of the Zoom, is that everyone is who are seeking a diagnosis are actually really well informed because they sort of hyper focus on learning as much as possible about the condition,
Absolutely.
and then realizing that there is a lot of misrepresentation and actually alerting to the discrimination and injustice around this condition. So the word I found is called woke.
Oh,
W-O.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have a newfound understanding of something and you want to change the perception because of that. And then especially as it's so personal and so dear to you, it's
Yeah. Yeah, a few people have said to me when I've said, because I'm really open, I tell everyone, post a lot about it on Instagram. A few people have said, are you sure? Like, are you sure you've got it? And I'm like, yeah. Someone asked me the other day, so is it self-diagnosed? Yeah. I was like, no, by a psychiatrist. Because again, the perception of just sort of this hyperactive person that can't do anything, can't focus. My mum's friend the other day, she said, are you sure Liz got ADHD? Because she couldn't do a master's. She was a teacher. And she said, but she couldn't possibly do a master's if she had ADHD. And I think that's a huge problem. There's lots of issues in the education system as well with sort of supporting kids and really understanding it. But yeah, lots of work to be done.
Yeah. So what you say about, people saying that, oh, you have a master's, you have a PhD, you can't possibly have, this condition. But this condition, because there's so much stigma, you don't realize that many people with this condition are actually exceptionally intelligent. We have the mental capacity to go ahead and learn a new thing, but it is the staying power and maybe executive functioning in starting and initiating tasks that maybe we need some work around and organization help with. Right. And also maybe you are exceptionally organized because many of us develop coping skills through,
Yeah, I have to take time because I do struggle with executive functioning. I do have to take time to plan and organize. And it's something that I just prioritize now. So I think once you understand and you know what you need to do, you can just, put systems in place to support you. But there's lots of help out there. I have a ADHD therapist that's I work with her every other week, and she's been incredible to work with, and I'll be starting ADHD coaching really soon. So I'm very receptive to help. I'll also ask for help, and I want to live a really good life, high quality of life, achieve a lot, and I just don't want to have any limitations either put on by myself or society put on me.
In fact, knowing the type of help you need is instrumental in, helping you achieve your ambitious dreams, right? And what you mentioned about ADHD therapists, talking therapy is really useful for people with ADHD, especially when we're by ourselves, we go into a loop of overthinking. So it's nice to talk to someone about it. And ADHD.
And this is what my therapist has said. We just need to talk, just let it out. We don't need solutions. We don't need we don't need all the answers. We just need to sort of get everything out of our heads. And I've been doing I started journaling recently, but generally I will sometimes I'll write down pages of pages just to get things out of my head and onto paper and just to free up some space. I have acupuncture and reflexology, which was for anxiety, but I think it really contributes to helping me function really well with ADHD as well. So that's really good.
Yeah, and ADHD coaching is useful because you can, ask for help in executive functioning, with planning. Yeah. So that's really good for you. I wanted to talk about your work life because I get the impression that you have successfully managed to, ask and receive accommodations for yourself. And I think from what you say, having a very understanding employer is a big part of it. How has your ADHD helped you navigate your work life, and what have you asked for and received in terms of workplace accommodations?
Yeah. So when I hadn't actually started my new role, and I'd got my diagnosis, I did put down generalized anxiety on my application form, but I emailed, I can't remember if I emailed or phoned up my new boss, just to let him know that I had the ADHD diagnosis. And he's an incredible guy. He's been a mental health nurse, so he's just got this empathy, understanding. He just gets it. And he was just extremely supportive. Put me forward for an occupational health referral. Just asked what I needed. And I think this is the trouble. Employers and managers don't need to know everything. They don't have to have the solutions. It's just asking the question, sort of, do you know what you need? Some people don't. I didn't know what I needed because it was such a new diagnosis. I've gone through Access to Work, which has helped me understand that it is around executive functioning that I need support, and there's some other tech that's going to be helping me. But yeah, my work, they're disability confident employer, so they're just very open to doing whatever they need to do with adjustments in the workplace. And I think there's just two sides of not knowing what you want, and having an employer and a manager that can sort of help you out. But things that I know that I need help with, definitely around sort of organisation, a bit of accountability now and then. I find when I've got tons of work on, loads of pressure, I work really well. But when it's a bit quiet, I can find myself doing things that perhaps aren't as focused. So just regular check-ins, an ability to sort of offload and just say, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, and then I feel much better and I can get on. So yeah, just a manager that's around to chat. Sometimes extension on deadlines, but that's mainly within uni. But in work, it's just an understanding that I am a bit different. And my boss has said, if you want to change your hours, because I focus at weird times, it's just let me know what you need and it's done, essentially. So that's really nice to have at the back of my mind, just knowing that I've got a boss that sort of backs me. I was really nervous actually about sending my Access to Work report over, because it's pretty brutal, and it only focuses on the negatives, and it just sort of says, these are all the problems you have in work, this is the help that you need. So I just felt really vulnerable, and I said, I feel really vulnerable sending this over, but here you go. And Chris just said, he's like don't worry, you're so competent, this won't change anything. And it was just so reassuring to know that I can deliver, and I am doing really well. But just at the back of my mind, I feel a little bit vulnerable at times, because I think we have sort of perfectionist tendencies, and like we want to be the best. And if we're going to do it, it's like you have to do it really, really well. But yeah, I felt so psychologically safe in my organisation, and I can talk about anything, and I can be very open. And I think it's testament to my manager, but also to the organisation and sort of what they're about, really.
Yeah.
So that's been incredible.
A testament to your bravery as well, and also I suppose for you to be brave, you needed to feel safe to do so, and you had a safety net of an understanding environment, which I think is what most of us want, in order to be ourselves, and that's all it is. If you just, accommodate the very little thing that we need help with, and they're not even really big things. They're just, things that happen along the way in project management. And I know some people actually get project management help after they declare their ADHD diagnosis at work. And, at the end of the day, for most of us, the reason we are employed is because of our ideas, and how we are working, sometimes under pressure and to deadline, and we have achieved each and every time, but to that end also, I know that there are other people who, after disclosing their diagnosis, unfortunately, they have been stigmatized and overwhelmed afterwards. So the landscape of diversity and inclusion organizations isn't exactly uniform. And I think in your case, you were very lucky to have a very understanding employer who works in mental health, but there are also others who weren't as lucky. And so I heard that your organization, Prairie County Council, so they're really receptive in terms of your requests. And what kind of tips would you give someone, say, if they're navigating the same journey as maybe, trying to request some workplace accommodations?
Yeah, I think it depends a lot with the relationship that you have with your manager and how comfortable you feel being open. I would say if that isn't there, that sort of psychological safe environment, maybe look for someone in the organisation that, if there's anyone that sort of looks after people, HR, maybe go to them to have a conversation initially. But the way I see it is employers, they have a duty of care to their employees, and you've got the different Equality Act, Disability Act. They have to support. Well, there has to be sort of reasonable adjustments made. Yeah, it is a bit of a tricky one, and this is what I'm hoping to sort of break down a little bit, the stigma around organisations. Yeah, I would try and seek out someone that is just quite empathetic, quite caring, and just have a chat with them and ask them about the next best step. There might be a policy that they can have a look at, but yeah, just sort of try and find someone that can help them out.
Yeah, and
Or
also,
just put on your brave pants and have a very frank conversation with your boss. Like, this is the problem, this is what I need from you, and just be quite just sort of inform them, because I think sometimes it's a bit, oh, I don't know what to do, but just say, we're going through this together. This is what I might need from you. Have you got any questions? You almost have to lead it, I think, sometimes, because they might not know what to do. They might not have experience of managing disabilities or neurodiversity in the workplace. But yeah, so go to them, say, like, this is what I think I need. This is a little bit about ADHD, or this about my disability, and just sort of educate them a little bit. I think that might be helpful.
yeah, because in most cases, you are the world expert on your own condition, and ADHD manifests differently in different people. And what you said
Absolutely.
about keeping an empathetic person in the workplace, that's really important, because in many cases, your direct employer, your direct manager, line manager may not be the person you want to disclose it to. And maybe you don't even want to disclose it because you don't feel safe to do so. And in some cases, people may even be able to ask for the things that, they have problems with without actually saying you have ADHD. It's like, tell them that you have ADHD without saying that you have ADHD.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
many of us actually end up getting to work late. And in my case, I actually developed a coping strategy to get to work extra early so that I don't have to be late for many, many years of coming in late, despite performing really well in my work. And it's been a problem. If I turn up at 9:45, then maybe then you can ask for a workaround that, saying that you're much more, productive, like you say, at certain hours of the day, and having flexible time, flexible working is so important.
yeah. And they're going to get the best out of you as well, and your performance is only going to improve if you've got the adjustments that you need. So they benefit. And again, that's something maybe to stress to the manager or someone in the organisation, just how you will benefit as an individual and how they will benefit as well,
Yeah,
because everyone wins. And when we can sort of be our true self at work, yeah,
exactly.
great things can happen.
Yeah, so I once worked with someone who told me, Sam, we didn't hire a seat warmer, so I felt more inclined to, do a really, really good job because
Yeah.
and her understanding. So that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it links to employee engagement as well. And yeah, you just makes you happier at work, more motivated, you feel supported. It's win-win for everyone. It's definitely it's definitely needed.
Yeah, and so, after receiving all these workplace accommodations, do you feel that maybe your day-to-day work life has gotten better and just feels a bit smoother, with the understanding?
Yeah, I think because I've operated in such a way for so long, you do have habits that are a bit ingrained that need some work. But I think for me, the biggest change was probably around self-compassion and how I talk to myself. So when I used to get really frustrated, I'd have a lot of negative self-talk. It just wasn't really doing me any good. But now, when I find myself, some days I just can't focus at all, and I just sort of find ways to start projects I'm either quite motivated by or really enjoy, or just start doing something. And sometimes I just say, you know what, I'm just not feeling motivated. It's okay, it will pass. And I think it's how I deal with my self-talk, and just I'm very positive towards myself now. Whereas before I used to just sort of beat myself up and force myself to do stuff. Now it's just like, well, I don't want to, so I won't. And I know that I can't, heaven and earth can't make me do something with my ADHD brain if I don't want to. So yeah, just taking a step back and just saying, go for a walk, do something else, let the distraction sort of happen, and then come back. So I think I feel very supported, which helps. I feel like I know what's happening, so I understand it a lot more. So then I can sort of ride the waves a little bit better. I'm more prepared, and yeah, I think it's definitely helped me with increase my self-awareness, which was quite high before, but now it comes with compassion and empathy, which I think is really key, and that's been really helpful.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, Liz. And also for what you said about, if you feel like you can't really concentrate on something, then don't force it. Go for a walk, and you know what to do because your brain is seeking out that dopamine hit. Whether it's going for taking your dog out for a walk, and you come back with this, good feelings, to get into being productive and focused.
Yeah, I find I put on certain music. I've got like a list of things that I do if I need motivation, and I find that I have to sort of stack. If I've got a dopamine hit and I know that I'm really motivated, I just have to cram in a load of stuff and just get it all done. So sort of stack in a load of work, and I can get, I don't know, tons done in sort of 40 minutes. But yeah, and it's understanding that dopamine level and when you're low, and yeah, you will look to social media and things that probably don't help you. I was on a webinar last night that was about emotional regulation and how that's such a huge part of ADHD, but isn't even part of the diagnostic criteria. And it's sort of having an understanding of your emotions as well. And you can do emotion trackers, just get to know you, I think, and how you're feeling, write it down, look at how that changes during the day, different times, and you can really learn to sort of manage yourself like that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have a lot of tools and skills to help you cope right now, and maybe thrive as well. And I know that you aspire to become a world-leading occupational psychologist. So
yeah,
I'm rooting for you.
yeah. I really found I found my passion and what I want to do, and I want to be the best. Of course, I might not get there, but I'll give it a good go. But yeah, I'd like to do a professional doctorate, and really sort of immerse myself within sort of well-being and particularly neurodiversity, and possibly look at sort of more of the strength side of it, high functioning ADHD, and just looking how to sort of maximize performance. Those are my thoughts, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Liz. So today, just to recap, we talked about the mental health struggles with undiagnosed ADHD, and in this case, it's the undiagnosed, the misdiagnosed anxiety and depression before the actual diagnosis appears. And so that's the career pivot as well in neurodiversity advocacy. We also talk about workplace accommodations, where you manage to get some really good help from access to work, and your work has embraced and, implemented for you. And also the landscape of diversity and inclusion in organizations. So thank you, Liz. It's been really amazing talking to you, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. Well, we'll be sharing the recording of this video on our YouTube channel, which I'll post on LinkedIn. And so if anyone is listening and you are a passionate change maker, an ADHDer with a story to tell about your experience in the workplace, or if you want to work on furthering the mission of championing the inclusive strategies for adults with ADHD in the workplace, get in touch. You might very well be my next guest. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.